Yeah, they just turned him into something. It's hard. It makes it hard to support AJ now. But
yeah, I don't really care anymore.
I can't lie to you.
It's the Nigerian thing that keeps it.
No, I don't care. I just don't care.
I don't really either. But
yeah,
now I kind of like I see him as like a stories man. So I don't mind him losing.
He talks too much.
I prefer him losing. Not prefer him losing, but it's him losing to see if he does the comeback thing, because that's the only way I can kind of.
Even if he does a comeback thing, now what 2 comebacks? I like, man.
But that's the thing. He like you said, he's a stories man, innit? Like he's invested too much into the narrative of AJ, where a lot of the time it's like just boxing,
just fight, innit?
Just fight, just win.
But this,
like, I don't care about the agenda and the role to undisputed. I don't care about none of that.
But this new version, as you said, man, it's too.
But they need
soft.
They need to change his whole team, like the whole team. Rob McCracken, all of these guys. When
some Olympics guy, yeah.
Oh, they got like Rob McCracken's a good trainer. He trained them as an amateur in the Olympics, yeah. But it's like your secondary teacher he's not gonna let you at uni, innit? Like certain man take you as far they're gonna take you. Then you need to get to the next level, and someone else has to come that knows where you're going and knows how to take you there.
Like what Fury did with
like with Sugar Hill Stewart, like.
I like in the corner. Did you hear him? Did you hear like I don't know the stream that you watched? Did you hear in the corner?
What was he saying?
Basically, like in the ninth, it's like or 8. It was like. Knock this guy out, god damn it. Like, it's not like it was basically like, saying you're moving mad. Jab, bang, jab, stop being like a waste man, jab. But it was like proper like American like it was like
that's the thing. Like Fury fired his trainer, like when the Ben Davis and the guys with before, like he looked weak when he fought Otto Wallen, which was before the second Wilder fight. Fired his trainer, got a whole new team, whole new gym, boxing out of Detroit now. And turned into a different guy, like he's turned into a beast now. AJ loses to Ruiz. Loyalty, I'm not gonna let go.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, man, it's like, brother, get rid of all of these guys. Like they're not doing what they need to do. But I don't know. Like, I don't even want to talk about AJ too much, man, because he's.
Wilder's head movement is 0, none at all.
Wilder's
have head movement.
He's not a boxer.
Wilder's a very limited boxer. But the thing with Wilder, that people kind of sleep on is that he gives away so much weight. Like against Fury, he was 40 pounds smaller.
40 pounds,
yeah. So he's not meant
big, yeah.
He's not meant to be. Not that he's not meant to, but no one else gives away as much weight as he does. So the fact that he's even in there going to war with these guys, people sleep on how mad it actually is, because all these other guys are 250 plus. He has to struggle to get to 240. That's hard for him, innit? So like he's going in against someone that's 277, like just under 40 pounds weight difference. No other fighter does that, innit? And he's done that his whole career because he's always been skinny.
Because of the swingers, that's it.
Yeah, but even him being a swingers, it's like he still gets beaten up by these guys.
Yeah, he
does.
Like, yeah.
For him to have only lost to Fury, that's he knows how to win in a way that AJ doesn't. Because AJ can't give away 40 pounds and still win. He wouldn't even believe he could do that. So I think I give him. He's not a good boxer, but I give him credit for actually being able to fight these guys with that weight difference in it. But like you said, he's got heart in it. Like he actually he wants to win. Like, I can't see AJ doing that. I can't lie. But I think it's good that he lost because he's humbled now, innit? Like, Wilder's humbled now, yeah. Like,
he might. The thing is, I'm sad. He might go off the rails. Like that's the thing.
I don't think so, man. I think
he already has.
I mean, he's always been a bit of a
What's
character.
understood ain't got to be explained. I seen it with my eyes.
Nah, he's mad into his theatrics, but I think this is gonna force him to actually fight good fights now. Like he has to if he wants another shot. Because the judge ain't gonna come save him again. If he wants to get a title shot, he has to go call out the top 10s, innit? He has to fight. He might even fight AJ. If AJ loses to Usyk, he might fight AJ. I think if AJ loses to Usyk again, it might actually be better for him. Like it might force him to actually go back and actually box.
It'll make a lot of these super fights just happen more easy, innit? Because they all need to get them to climb themselves up the ranks.
And in some ways, I think all this noise. I think AJ needs quiet, man. This noise gets to his head, and she's kind of unraveling in it with all that hype around him. So if he doesn't have that mystique of him being AJ, and it's just I'm just a boxer again, it might be what he needs, isn't it?
Interesting.
In general, it's like bringing that to life, yeah, like actual life, yeah. Like, do you think doing anything in the public eye, in anything, do you think it just shags you? Like, do you think there's ever a way to do something? Let's take, I don't know, this podcast for example, easiest example because we're sitting here.
Yeah.
To do something, it be in the public eye, it be hyped up, but to continue to do it to the same standard as if it wasn't baited up.
I don't know, that's a good question still. Me personally, I avoid public stuff. I can't lie. I wish I did a podcast in the past, but that was like that was just a favour in it more than anything. And like, it weren't really something that I was pushing for in it. But generally speaking, I don't really, other than my Insta story, I barely post on Insta, so I kind of avoid that in it. But if you know who you are, yeah, like, and you're like proper, like, you have an understanding of what you represent. I wouldn't say no in it. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I think once you kind of expose it to the public and you're kind of you've opened up to criticism, then it's gonna get to you, innit? It's gonna get to your head and that. But
yeah, Ibs.
Obviously, I can't sit here and say I avoid the public eye, but I do still kind of think of myself as someone, even though I am on a podcast, I do still kind of think of myself as someone that does try as much as possible to move low key. I don't post much on socials either.
The judge one of yours.
no, do you remember? You know the meeting when the meeting spills over into the. But man used to tweet the anime, different scenes from animes. I was like,
that's still there, and I'll still revive that. I have zero shame in that. I have zero shame. I just forgot to add to it. Oh man, I forgot that's there. I have
he had a thread on
like
Twitter,
a thread,
and he just updated with like different clips from his favorite animes,
scenes I like from animes.
Yeah,
just
proper like
just random,
randomly update for bare long. I was like, what are you doing, fam? Like, you're ruining your market, fam.
Alhamdulillah, our market is
the pattern anyway. So
yeah, alhamdulillah.
You're right.
I'm not going to that still, but
no, don't.
So someone will say, you know, glass houses, you know what I mean?
Boy, listen,
should have thrown stones and leave him.
Maybe anime fed as well, innit?
Maybe that's what you're missing, bro.
Yeah, that's the bat signal now, innit?
But I think it is important that you do kind of, like you said, know yourself, and that way, when you do get criticism from people or advice, you can filter through it. And you can know which parts you need to pick and which parts you can ignore. At the end of the day, I guess it just always comes back to your intention, really and truly. As long as you're solid in your intention from the start, you can always refer back to that. And if you are losing track or going off in a different direction, you can always revisit it and say, maybe I need to realign, maybe I need to stop, and move from there. In it, that's probably the most important thing, which I think a lot of people miss, is that their intention from the beginning isn't like sound, or they don't have one at all. They just want to do it because they want to do it.
Yeah,
and I think that's with anything. That's why I think I'm that's another reason I think I'm able to kind of just exist on social media and take everything with a pinch of salt, because I know that things like Twitter, I'm purely there for entertainment. Purely, I'm not there for anything else. So anything else that goes on, I take it with a pinch of salt. I don't need to engage. I don't need to engage in this conversation. You don't need to hear my 2 pence on everything that's going on in the world at the moment. I'm just there to laugh. So as soon as it becomes something else, I'm out.
Lisa, what was you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that you're saying something about how knowing why you do things, innit? I think more like, especially now, where like opinions are currencies. Like I can't remember what it's called yet, but Twitter's put in the future where you could like super like something, so like you kind of pay them, innit? You pay your favorite tweeters, innit? Yeah. And it's like Twitter's literally made it so that you can add a financial value to an opinion. So where you kind of create an economy where like having an opinion is worth money, everyone's gonna jump online, and it's gonna be like they're gonna create platforms where they just say what they think, because they've literally been told there's a value to it. But really and truly,
they might not even say what they think.
Yeah, like, they're gonna say what's gonna
get traction. Yeah,
they're gonna say what's gonna get traction, what's gonna get buzz, and most people don't have a why. They don't have a reason why they do things other than wanting to kind of make money from it. So having that, obviously, you man got this platform because you want to kind of, like you man mentioned that you want to. There's certain things as far as Dean's concerned that's not been spoken about that you want to speak about. So that brings you back to the why, innit? But I don't have a why to be in a public eye, innit? So I don't. 100. I just it's not for me, innit?
So what? When you was doing the
what? 1 second.
Oh, go on.
This is intro, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Quickly.
So people, Jollof after Jummah, episode 49.
Still no Jollof sauce.
Yeah,
it's cool.
That's what it is. I don't like Ghana Jollof anyway.
I don't eat Ghana Jollof either. Still.
What'd you say?
I don't eat Ghana
Nothing.
jollof either. He said no Ghana jollof in it. Little cultural joke there.
But yeah, might as well introduce yourself and then go.
Oh, my name's Isa. One of the man them. I'm sure everyone that's been there just says one of the man them in it. Like that's all it is.
yeah.
Basically,
One of the man them.
They're cheapening our network.
Yeah.
We're just a gang of mandem.
just man them in it. That's literally it. Yeah, like obviously knowing you brothers from. I don't even know how long. I actually
Sandbox.
don't know. Yeah, pretty much.
Knee high.
From back in the day, like from Oakham Old Mosque and.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Actually,
we're gonna touch on
yeah.
that. We're gonna touch.
I was actually. I think you told me about that, innit? That they knocked. I was actually cold. I drove past it the other day and saw that. Like, I actually saw it in. I was like, oh, said that's actually mad.
Don't worry, I'm gonna reference that in my bites. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I think inshallah,
Inshallah.
if it comes together.
Mm.
Yeah. What was we saying? Are we done with the intro?
Yeah, we're done with the intro. Really.
Yeah. Cool. What episode is this?
49.
49. Oh,
Yeah.
almost 50. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. What was we saying? I've forgotten. This is why I don't like intro.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Flow.
I cut you off.
Cheers
Sorry.
for that.
I think there was a question, but I don't. Even, I
Yeah,
don't know
you were
the
about to
question.
ask a
Yes,
question.
yeah. So yeah, the pod. So like doing it. Do you think it had like a neg? I know you said you did it as a favor.
Mm.
Like, would you say you enjoyed doing it?
I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. Like it was just one of those things that at the time, 'cause at the time I was exploring a lot as well in it. So in terms of work, yeah, I was still figuring out what I wanted to do, and I was still kind of had my foot in the creative thing as well. So like that was just something that it's like, okay, why not do it for now in it? Because I was doing it with my boy as well, so it was literally just banter in it. But it was always something that from the beginning I was like, I'm not like this ain't a long term thing for me in it, man. I'm just doing it because the other host dropped out and he needed someone to fill in. So I was like, cool, I'll do it for now, innit? Then it got to a point where it just organically ended, innit?
Oh, is the actual thing stopped? The whole
Yeah,
thing?
it came to an end organically, innit? So, but the thing is, when it was coming to an end, I told my boy, I was like, this break here, I'm using that as an exit, innit? But then he was also planning to kind of wind up as well, same time. So it just kind of, like a lot of things came together at the same time, which meant, cool, we're going to take a break from it and then might come back, even though I knew I weren't coming back in it. And Travis knew he weren't coming back either. So like when it just ended, like even when you man dropped your pod and I reposted it on my story, people messaged me like, oh, when is this coming back? I'm like, fam, let it go, man. Like come listen to Jollof after Jummah, innit? Like this is the brothers podcast, innit? Like that's not coming back in it. But yeah, it was just something that I did it at the time and it was banner and it was just it was never here nor there, innit? Like it's just something that it's starting to do in it, just something at that time it was just seeing how far by in it.
Yeah, cause before this, you know, like I don't think I mentioned it. I might have, but before Jaj, me and a couple other man them, like non-Muslims, I was proper like conflicted about doing one, because like I proper wanted to, but then I think the thing that stopped me was thinking like, you know, when you know that like, fair enough, there's conversations that you can have with the man them that are okay behind four walls and that type of thing, but those same conversations, bringing it to a public, like, you know, anything in public, I think obviously you just have to package it in a way and it represents you in a way that you have to kind of be careful about what's coming out. And I always felt like, as much as I think, yeah, this could bang, like everyone, you know, everybody in them, and you know, we should record it, this will bang in there. But obviously same thing, but it was all like, I don't know, man. So then I thought, like, so it kind of me wanted to do a podcast. I guess it was kind of like opposite direction. I thought I wanted to do a podcast for other reasons. And then at the same time, I've always had like a thing about, you know, I've always been passionate, I guess, about making sure that the representation of Islam, especially from like our point of view, is out there because of the powers of ignorance that's out there. Like even brother Ismail, doing a voice note he sent when he was talking about, you know, somebody like was it a story? Yeah, so, what was it?
Someone, yeah, he was just doing a bit of promo for the podcast, and someone commented saying that we should try and have. It wasn't a bad comment, but they were just saying that what would be good to hear and to have for the podcast would be to maybe have guests from like other cultures and stuff. but then he was like,
that was someone from another culture.
yeah, this is someone from another culture. Just because we're African Muslim, that doesn't
mean the same culture.
Yeah.
Like, he's Ugandan, but isn't it? Like, it's different culture completely.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
So like even stuff like that. So I feel like I've wanted to kind of hold up this type of, not our version, but Islam from our perspective in a certain light. And also, you know, going back to it, and this is something, another conversation I had with my boy as well, like just yesterday, that like in terms of this podcast, appealing to that demographic or that group of Muslims who are, and I think you commonly find it with Africans, especially Nigerians, that's what I know. The Muslims that are Muslim, their family is Muslim, but the only thing they know about Islam is the fact that, you know,
35 times a day and that.
No, all they know is that maybe they went to Americas for 3 years when they were a kid, and then that's it. Their family's not really that practicing, so they're not really that practicing. So their name's Muhammad or their name's, you know, Malik with a H and an L and the UK, yeah, and that's it. Like that's their. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no Islam in the family, and I think obviously the way Nigeria is, that it's so fluid when it comes to religion that sometimes that it just falls by the wayside. And it's just, at these times, So I think that's something, you know, I'll put it on the podcast anyway, because why not? But it's something that we kind of need to re-establish, trying to appeal to that market, because I feel like that's the market that has the most to gain from something.
I was
this.
literally talking to someone on my way here who's thinking, he's actually thinking about getting married, you know. But
you said the M word.
Sorry. Doing so well,
man. How long has it been? We got 15 minutes in. We got 15 minutes in. That's a record. Welcome back to the marriage show.
Here we go again.
They love it. As we were saying, they love it. They love it. And don't listen to them. They don't know what they want.
He's thinking about getting married, but his exposure to kind of like the Deen and brothers that I guess are kind of solid in their practice is kind of limited. So I guess
even the fact that he wants to get married means that he's probably is on a level, you know.
So my advice to him is, and it's kind of like what we were saying last week about having friends but looking in the right place for them. And I was like, if you see someone or like a group of people that you think would be good for you, or maybe you kind of look up to them a little bit, rather move in that direction. Rather than just having them there and join on that one or two people when you feel like it's necessary, move closer to them. Because if you're in a certain space where you're encountering fitna on a daily basis, probably not the best thing for you. So just move close to those people.
It's mad. It's mad. You know, friends, yeah. Even when I deep it, like when I think about my friends, like Muslim, non-Muslim, everything, yeah, the friends are very, very difficult, especially when you like, if these are your friends from, let's say, like, you know, end of secondary school, sixth form, college, uni, it's very difficult to disassociate those people. Because a lot of the time, those people are the reason you are how you are. Like almost you're all like, because it's all your developmental state ages and that you almost become like reflections of each other. But so go on.
I was gonna say with that, you have to kind of make sure you don't shy away from these conversations, and like with the podcast, to go back to that example. Basically, like one of my boys, his girlfriend's sister is Muslim, innit? And he was telling me about this experience when he went to, like, there was like a family get together, and she was being kind of standoffish with him, innit? Just not really interacting with him in a way that he would have expected. And he said, he told me about the situation, and he was like, if I didn't know you and I didn't know how Muslim sisters are meant to carry themselves, I would have taken that a certain way. Like I would have felt like, wow, like she don't like me. But he's like, I understood, like, obviously there's a certain way that she's meant to carry herself around men that aren't kind of like married into the family properly and stuff like that. So obviously, like, when you have friends that aren't Muslim and obviously you kind of act a certain way or they act a certain way, like, I wouldn't say it's a simple, it's just a thing of just cutting them off completely, but it's just about knowing, like, not shying away from the conversations where it's like, if they ask you a question about it, do you know, you know, they ask you, oh, you know, what does Islam say about this? Or just, like, let them know in it, do you know what I'm saying? Because then it makes it so much easier to navigate in those situations. And even like doing a podcast, like there was certain times where I'd go quiet in it because they're having a mad conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm not gonna get involved in those conversations. It can make it a bit awkward, yeah. But it's like, obviously, it's my fault for putting myself there anyway, innit?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where people kind of have to just know why you're behaving the way you're behaving, and it just makes it easier. It makes it easier to navigate that conversation, innit? But yeah, like, just to that point about, you know, friends and growing up with friends that aren't Muslim and knowing how to kind of move away from them. I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say move away from them.
Yeah, not even move away. Oh, it depends, obviously, what they're doing. But it's not even about moving away. Just about you're gonna have to distance yourself in some way. In that you're gonna have to be able to draw some lines that you maybe wouldn't have drawn before. Maybe you're gonna have to not go
That's interesting.
to certain places. You're gonna have to not, you know, have certain conversations. You can't go. You know, it goes without saying, isn't it? Like, sorry to cut you off, but I just say when I think back to uni, for example, yeah. So I was in Kent for 4 years. I must have met over 30 over the course of every. So I was second year to fourth year, every freshers year basically. You know, I always made sure, even though I wasn't really properly in the actual committee. Obviously, ours wasn't that organized anyway, but I made sure that when it came to that freshers fair or whatever, I was posted because I wanted to make sure when you see Islam, there's a yo, my brother. I needed to make sure, do you know what I mean, a presence there in it. And I must have met 20 brothers, 25 brothers over the 3 years, 15, 20 sisters over the 3 years, who there was at least some sort of initial conversation, some sort of initial interest, some sort of, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm Muslim, you know, or like, how are you like practicing? What's your family saying? No, you know, I went to like Muslim school or whatever when I was younger. Family's I ain't really been doing it. Obviously I'm interested. I want to, you know, that's that same conversation. Yeah, I want to like obviously get more on the religion. I want to start, you know, pray and learn more about it. You know, uni, that's one of my objectives. Yeah. But do you know what I mean? You by come November, you know where you see these people in it. Like, they're back in the matrix, in it, because obviously at the end of the day, and this is goes like, I don't have to. This is obvious. Like, when you're, you know, new, you got new freedom. You're young, like growing up. What you identify who you identify with is more so, you know, the man them, the girl them that are just about in school and college or whatever. Like, there's no reason for you to resonate. It's very difficult for you to just naturally want to resonate to, you know, the Asian brothers with beards. Like, so it doesn't work like that, innit? So it's sad, man. So like, I feel like there's a bridge that needs to be gapped.
Yeah, 100.
Because there's definitely interest. That's the sad thing. These people are like, I believe them. They're talking. They want to be religious the same way all of these people, like, because I don't know. It's very the way that, and this is not Christianity, but the way Christians, I'd say, probably are in this same kind of community, is that it's very easy for them to mix their religion and their lifestyle, and it not seem like it's clashing. I'd say and there's a lot of Christian people that I'm sure will disagree with this, especially, you know, the more ones that are on it. But the way that it comes across is that it's very easy to the. That's something I've always found interesting. Yeah, when people say, and that's a big part of the reason why I never really publicized a lot of the creative stuff I did, because there was like an internal conflict in it. But I always find it interesting whenever people say, oh, the God I serve did this for me. And I think, like, a lot of what you're doing runs against what your religion says you should be doing. Exactly, you know what I'm saying? So why are you crediting the success of this thing to God? Like, that's not something that would be championed. That is, all success doesn't come from God, innit? Sometimes you choose, regardless of your religion, sometimes you choose the world, like this life, or what you actually should be doing. So I've always found it interesting when people, and I think that goes back to a point about why it looks easier to kind of compromise. Well, let me not say compromise, but it looks easier to kind of bring together Christianity and like this life, innit? Because for as though there is less objection to a lot of kind of like what is seen as worldly success, innit? Whereas with Islam, it's like you're not meant to, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas, you know, as Muslims, you're meant to kind of shy away from the spotlight. You know, they say you should run away from fame and all these other things, and there's obviously there's emphasis on making sure that your money is halal. So there's so much more that wouldn't be championed as a Muslim that it kind of is championed in other religions, isn't it? It's creeping in. It's creeping in.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That, and it's, you know, it needs to be
like Muslim representation in certain spaces. It's like,
especially in America.
Yeah, it's mad.
In America but yeah, man. Or even like, you know, my man, like the MMA thing that we saw.
Okay.
Like, you know, stuff
MMA
like that.
thing.
The celebrity fight that happened.
Oh right,
like,
yes,
yeah. I mean,
yes,
even that is like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but like chilling it, like, because it's yeah. You're like it's just, I think as the reward, which is basically what you're saying, what you're basically saying before, the reward for those who are, you know, misguided, for the good that they do, will come in this dunya. And what they're thinking, what they're thanking God for, or, you know, God gave this to me, and, you know, for all my hard work. It's, yeah, but it was waiting for you later on in it. And that's so, like, being Muslim, it's just in this country, it's just more difficult. So it's sad, but it is what it is. And the reward that's why the reward for, you know, for doing it properly and all that, inshallah, is so great. That demographic, it's thing is sad, like, and it's like I can just think of, like, I'm thinking through my contact list, I'm thinking through my, like, Instagram or whatever, and there's people even that, like, we know that are not even, like, that are, like, maybe grew up with us or grew up in the mosque or whatever, that it's like you can see that, like, their heart is good, but what they can't get away from is the lifestyle. And it'll always be, you'll never see them posting up doing nonsense by themselves. It'll always be with certain people, or with this girl, or with these man. It's like,
I think a lot of those guys are empty though. Like, guys, I say guys, including girls in that gender neutral term. You know, we progress over here.
Yeah, we're progressive. Yeah, progressive.
Let's not misgender people, guys. But yeah, like, a lot of people, like, it's an empty shells, man. Like, everyone knows. Like, I don't know if it was on the pod, but, you know, we're saying about how people kind of, they say the right things and they do the right things. Like, people know what looks as if they know what looks like a win, and they post that. They're not happy inside. Like, they don't feel fulfillment from this. Like, a lot of this is like short bursts of excitement, but so many people, like, and I think that's why when you think about the drinking culture in this country, that's why this country drinks so much, fam. The drinking is ridiculous, bro. It's tied to the lifestyle, I'm telling you, man. Because they're not like
happy.
Yeah, like, they're not happy. Like, they have to drown themselves in alcohol. Like, it's all tied together, but
like we've had so
we
many,
talk about this all the time, bro. The drinking culture in this country is crazy.
My brothers were telling me times they've been on holiday and met, like, other white people from different countries, and they just don't understand why the white people in this country have to get mortal before they enjoy themselves. Like, they just don't understand it. Like, they're also white and they can have a drink and just normal, but so people in this country, you have to be fit.
Even the percentage of alcohol that they sell in this country versus other countries, it's ridiculous. Like, it's so much more percentage wise in a bottle of alcohol beer than other countries. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, the culture here is nuts, fam. But it's because they're not happy in it. Like, this country has designed itself, and obviously the people are to blame as well for who they vote for. Not to make it political, but we've just created a society where, like, you know, people kind of create an illusion of success or happiness rather than actual happiness. So they start chasing all these things that doesn't really fill them with anything. And when they go home and it's like, okay, nah, it's me and my feelings. Let's get that bottle out.
But when you, like, even flipping it back here, like when you, like, mirror it to, like the pre Islamic Arabia, it's basically, you know, like, when you hear the description of it, it's best similar to UK in this. It's drinking and gambling, and a lot of people who have a resemblance. So they're people who they are people who are of, you know, the Abrahamic religion, so they know who their prophets are, they know who Allah is, but, you know, because of lifestyle or personality or pride or arrogance or whatever, they create, you know, idols, they create these different things to believe in. They create these they have these feuds, like you know, whether it's tribal or whether it's land or that type of thing. Same thing that happens here, you know, Brexit and whatever. And they drink and they gamble and they fight. and they're really deep down, they're aware of, if you ask them, they know what good is if you ask them, but their heart or their brain doesn't allow them to live in a way that will allow them to achieve some sort of inner peace. They just destroy themselves. And it's mad, like, and this is basically this is the UK, fam. It's so self-destructive,
mad self-destructive.
Again, not to be political. So, like, for example, Brexit. How can anyone in this country, like, with a right mind, deny the fact that this country is literally built firstly off the back of, you know, of colonialism, and empire, so stealing from people from other cultures, and then when the country was destroyed and bombed to smithereens, it was rebuilt by bringing in people from the Caribbean, India, whatever, from other countries. And these are the same people that as soon as there are any small problems, the issue is those people. Yeah. And then they get rid of them, and they get rid of them, and then
they need them back.
When they're back on 3-month visas.
They're back on 3-month visas now. They are sick.
And they won't even admit, they're calling it a supply chain bottleneck. Okay, what's causing a bottleneck? It didn't just happen because you got rid of all the drivers. They won't even admit it's because of Brexit. They've made it a mandate that we're not going to blame on Brexit. So they're trying to misdirect people and not take ownership. Even to kind of go off topic a little bit, the response to that Sarah Everard's murder, innit? Like from the Met Police. How can the police tell you if a police stops you and you don't feel safe,
run away,
flag down a bus driver? How can the police say flag down a bus driver? It's the police's job to keep people safe. But if you don't feel safe at the hands of the police,
the police said if a policeman stops you,
and you don't feel safe, run and wave down a bus driver.
They said run and wave down a bus driver, or they said run away and call the police.
And then call the police. So call the people that you don't feel safe. This is the lengths they'll go to not take ownership of what they've created in it with the Met Police in it. Like this country, like when you say self-destructive, I've detached myself. So
wait, I need to go back to that. So I'm allowed.
Probably not you, innit?
And without getting tasered.
They're saying that to white women, if we're being honest, innit? Okay. Obviously, because women are saying we don't feel safe. Like this is a police officer that used his power to kill this woman, innit? And it's a sensitive topic, so I don't want to delve into it. But I don't think that guy. This is his first time, if I'm being honest, because I was following the kind of court reporting from it, and the level of detail that he went into when he was planning it, just doesn't seem like someone that's doing it for the first time.
Like, trial and error. There's some trial and error.
The whole thing, if not for social media, he probably would have gotten away with it. Because you know, like, reality of like a lot of like these crimes today, it's just incompetency. That's why they get away with it, innit? Like when you watch movies, they make it seem as if it's this super genius, like wherever he's criminal mastermind. But the reality is, so many of these murders, it's just because the police didn't care. Like they just don't investigate, innit?
Budget, yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? But
they don't,
in this instance, social media made noise as soon as she went missing and forced the police, that fought the Met to investigate it. Even properly, then, they were still like, I read something about how the Met were at his house from 7 p.m, but he didn't go until 11, so they gave him time to delete his messages. So even with all that pressure on the Met, they still bungled the case a little bit. But the whole thing is a sham. I don't even want to delve into it too much, but that whole thing is like, that institution is rotten to its core, innit? And they will go so far to the point where they're telling you to run and wave down a bus driver.
Bus driver, they even consult the bus drivers?
They even ask the bus driver, like, this guy's got the murder kit. Like, they're telling you to go wave a bus driver down, you know, that's ridiculous, man. But yeah, that's this country for you, fam.
Yeah. No, sad, man. Do you want to stay here?
I'm planning to leave, you know, I can't lie, fam. I'm planning, my mum lived in Abu Dhabi for like 6 years, innit? So like, I spent a few months out there. I'd fully leave this country. I'm planning to leave this country, and I don't know when, but I don't see the rest of my life in this country. This country, like, there's only so many times that you can get angry at the country's policies. Like, every time they say they're not going to increase income tax, then they do it. Like, months after they said they wouldn't. Like, the increase in this tax, the increase in that tax. All this stuff that they're doing that's making it harder to live in this country. Energy bills going out. It's like, how long are you going to put yourself through in it? Like, really and truly, in it. And it's not even like conducive in terms of like the Deen either. Like it's harder to be a Muslim in this country.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like, what am I really putting myself through this for? I don't even have that bond a lot of people have with. Obviously, there's a lot of people that their families and, you know, like going back to the point about like bringing the West Indians to kind of come and build this country. A lot of people, their family, like their history runs deep in it. Like, I don't really have that, so I have a less of an inclination. But even if you do have that, I still feel as though you got bare family back home anyway. So you shouldn't even really feel like oh, I can't, or all my family say I can't leave.
It's a FOMO, man.
The world is so big, like the world is
Yeah,
actually
it's
a
FOMO,
massive
it's
place,
FOMO.
isn't it? That's it. That's exactly what it is as well.
Especially London.
Fear of missing out, in case anyone doesn't know what FOMO means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where would you? Somewhere like Abu Dhabi.
I could go Abu Dhabi, yeah. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, that kind of UAE region. But then also, I'd be open to kind of exploring. I remember going to like Berlin when I was in school, and I remember thinking that transport in Berlin, like one on a school trip with a history class, innit? The transport in Berlin is so much, even back then, so much better than London. You know, it's almost like everything outside of London is not obviously not everywhere, but I remember being on the train there and the McDonald's there and all that stuff is like everything in Berlin. Not almost. I went there for long in it, but I just felt like you could have a good life outside of the UK. But
I felt that when I went to
they just don't really think like that.
when I went to Brussels, I don't know what the state of that place now is, but Belgium. But it was like the area I was in is essentially you're basically in Morocco anyway, because it's just Morocco,
right, yeah.
Algeria. I think Algeria. Where's like Eden Hazard and them from? Are they Moroccan or Algerian?
That's your guy, fam. You're the football guy.
Hazard and them. Anyway, I think it's Algeria. I think it's Algeria anyway. But it's basically like living in a North African type place here. Like and like just everything about it. I think other countries compared to this country, they allow the peaceful kind of what's the word? Like you know when people go into an area and they basically kind of make it a mini version of their own place. Yeah. In this country, you can't do that without, you know,
it's a lot of drama in it, yeah.
Glass bottles being thrown at your windows. But I think in other countries in the continent, maybe not France as well, you know, that's
France,
I think see France here. France is an example. France used to be like that. But I think because obviously they're having their poverty and they're moving out this country and they're scapegoating cultural people. So they're the people that they sent to live in, you know, their own little areas, their, you know, council type areas. And they used to thrive. Like all the Ivorians would be in this area of Paris and they were happy. But then now they're the issue and it's not good enough and they need to get out of the country. But anyway, I was in Brussels and like living, and it literally just felt like I was in North Africa, and it was just calm and it was just nice and it was just a nice place to be. And it's like, I'm in Europe, I'm in like Western Europe, but it just feels like more homey, just nicer. Yeah. That's why I'm like, my sister's in-laws, so like, I don't know what's your sister. My sister's in-laws anyway. They live out there, innit? So I used to go there quite a lot, and it's just sick, man. Just like, yeah, all the traveling is essential. Anyone that's listening to it, I actually think it's so essential.
Education.
It's educational, fam.
It's education. I think that's one thing that alhamdulillah we were fortunate to have.
Even Birmingham, fam.
Kind of just.
I went Birmingham and I was like, right, this is nice. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know about that.
No, like as in like I've been like the people, like, as in like just being a Muslim in Birmingham, for example, I feel like it's just better living. Yeah. And sorry, what was you saying? No,
I was just saying I think it's one thing that we were I was kind of fortunate to have growing up, that our parents took us traveling a lot. So it's just something, again, just being able to see things from a different perspective and not always just be in your bubble, because like I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's weird. I think there's just so much more to life that people don't realize because they don't see outside of what they know.
And because of the rat race as well.
Yeah, so they just tend to magnify their own problems because you're not educated on what's actually outside of your scope. So yeah, man, it's important.
That's definitely something I need to. Obviously, I've been a few places, but I've not been as many places as I would like, innit? It's definitely something I'm trying to do more of. Like once they stop requiring the COVID vaccine, because I ain't touched either of those. But once they stop those, once they stop those requirements, then obviously get some new tattoos for my passport, innit? But
wait, you're not the vaccine thing?
I ain't vaccinated once.
Why not?
Because they make my arm fall off, innit?
I've still got 2 arms, bro.
On the down, man.
Do you know what it is? Yeah, I don't. Unless someone forces me to, I can't bring myself to go there, innit? I've just never gone. I've got the text hella times, innit?
Have you had COVID?
I don't even know.
Have you got yellow fever?
I've had whatever vaccines I had back in the day. Yeah, I had all that stuff.
Have you had COVID?
I was a youth though, man.
Yeah, I had antibodies. I had it like when it wasn't cool, like, back in Jan 2020.
Oh, okay.
But
if I had it, I was asymptomatic, and I've never had
maybe
it
since. But I had antibodies in April,
Mm.
so I had it quite like back there before lockdown, before original lockdown. And to be honest, you know the way I was feeling last week. I did the test, I was negative, but I think it was flu. I think it was flu. But smell and taste, it's not even local yet.
Swear.
Well, it's there, but it's not back. But I lose it every time I have a cold.
It's humans line of work as well, still.
Yeah, as in I have to. Not I have to, but as in I basically have to. It would have been very difficult for me not to. On the rat race thing though, man. Like, what's like career wise or like, you know, like job wise or working wise? How you finding that? Like, just navigating that space.
Alhamdulillah, man. It's like I was saying, for me, I spent a lot of time experimenting in it, like figuring out what I wanted to do. Obviously, you man know, first thing I wanted to do was filmmaking, innit?
Yeah.
So I spent like first 2 years out of uni, but I'd been writing that screenplay since I was like 16, innit? So like I spent the first up until like 2017ish trying to build my own production company, innit? So I did a lot of networking. I did a lot of like made a short film, made 2 comedy specials.
Yeah.
Did a lot of that, innit? Then it kind of got to a point where, going back to the discussion about why, I started to kind of realize that I'm only chasing this because I've always wanted it, not because I want it anymore, innit? Like I don't really, because obviously the process of making a film, even I only made a short film, innit? But that took me like a year and a half, like from when I first like started writing it to when I got the end result. It took like a year and a half, like. And I remember when I was starting the film, just before we filmed it, one of my boys had a friend who goes to a film school. So he like introduced me to him, and he was able to get all the film equipment from his school, innit? So we didn't actually pay for no equipment. And I remember him saying to me that before we started filming, he's like, oh, you know, you have to, what he was taught that, you know, when you make a film, once you release it, it's no longer yours, and it doesn't belong to you no more. And you have to be okay with people like kicking you and do all these other things because they're gonna say this and they're gonna say that, and like assume everything bad that could happen with a film is going to happen in it. And when he said that, I was like, not everything bad. There might be a couple bad things, not everything bad. Ask me why the first day of filming, I opened my bank, the account to withdraw money. I've never been deeced in my life. Like a bag is gone from my account.
Wow. The
first day of filming, I was like, yeah, everything bad's gonna happen. Everything bad that you can imagine is going to happen. But what happened was, because I was in Leicester and I was in a house, obviously the house I lived in Leicester. When I came back to London, because I filmed it over the summer, I didn't go back to get all my stuff in it. So the landlord threw all my stuff out, including my banking stuff. So the summer that I was filming my short film, obviously the landlord threw all my stuff out, including all my banking statements and that. So that's how that person was able to kind of deets my account. And I was given funding in it, which is why there was a lot of money in my account, because I got funding through my uni to make the film. So like the first day of filming, my account gets deets. My account gets deets. Obviously I go sort it out with a bank, but then obviously they had to cancel my card in it, so I don't have a card, so I'm not able to actually withdraw the money that I have for the film, that I was given for the film. So like the whole process, obviously the whole process of filming a film, that those 3 days of shooting was mad because of that. And then obviously the first editor I picked that I got to do it wasn't able to do it, so he put me onto another editor. He stole my money. So then I got the third editor. What,
you just paid him depot? And
I gave him it was only like 100 like deposit, but it disappeared, didn't it? And this was a recommendation, so like literally the whole, from start to finish, everything mad that you thought could happen would have happened. And when the guy said it to me, I was like, no, that's not true. But everything mad happened, and it took mad long to finish it because of that, innit? But obviously when I started doing other stuff, I started doing like comedy specials and stuff like that. I just started to realize that I don't actually enjoy the process, innit? Like I like looking at the finished result and seeing that I've done it, but I don't enjoy the process of it, and it's gonna take a long time to make money from this. Like in order to make proper money, and trying to raise money to make stuff as well, it's just it got kind of long in it. So I started to kind of look to. That's when I started to kind of look to transition into the corporate thing, and that's when I started to kind of have to figure out what I wanted to do and navigate in it. But yeah, obviously that's kind of the long-winded way of saying it's like I don't know, like navigating it that's a whole like separate conversation in terms of just figuring out what you want to do. And because I went from being a creative and trying to do that creative thing to like going corporate and figuring out what I wanted to do. There was a long period of me actually seeing what I actually liked and what I was good at and what I could make money from as well, innit? So yeah, like it's been like, I don't even know if I answered your question properly, innit? But it's just been it's been a long journey, innit? Just trying to figure out what direction I'm moving in and what I should look to do in it. But
how did you kind of land in the corporate side of things then?
Well, the first, like, I was trying to figure out where I could like leverage the skills I already had in it. So because I'd been pitching a lot, because obviously I pitched for funding in it. So because I was able to pitch for funding and I'd written business plans, and because I was trying to actually build a production company as opposed to just being a director. So there was like certain business skills that I knew I could kind of say, oh, I've done this and I've done that. So I wanted to kind of find something that I'd need to kind of pitch a lot, or at least kind of use some of those skills in it. So like, I don't remember how, but I stumbled across a PR firm. I think I was on one of those grad sites in it, and I applied to a grad scheme, but I didn't get it. But I started to look more into what that company does, and that kind of opened me up to like PR as an industry in it. So I just sent back applications and started to kind of get internships in PR firms. But I still didn't really know what PR was in it. I didn't really know what they did or what I was meant to be doing, because I was still kind of half and half in two roles. There was still a part of me still trying to do that filmmaking stuff. But I also wanted to get to a good enough place so that I could actually work like on the corporate thing as well, so I weren't relying on that in it. So I didn't really put my head down, and I didn't really take most of my internships seriously. Like I went through bare companies, like interning at different companies, because I remember, yeah. I just didn't really enjoy it. Like I didn't enjoy it. I weren't ready to work either. Like I didn't like the idea of working for someone else and being told what to do either. So like that was something I kind of had to get my head around and get used to. But then also figuring out what type of PR I liked as well, because the PR industry is such a broad industry. There's so many different types in it, and obviously each company kind of specializes on a different thing. So I know a few people that they work in PR and they stayed at the first company they worked at, and I've asked them like, do you actually like this, or are they just the ones that gave you a job? Because it's so different. Like everyone I've worked at is different. You do a different thing, different skill set. So because I actually spent a bit of time kind of bouncing around and just working in different companies and seeing the different things they do, I was able to kind of develop an understanding of, you know, what I actually like doing and what I don't like doing in it. So I was able to kind of, I basically just took my time in it. I just took my time, worked in different places, and I was kind of lucky, because usually when you bounce around too much, people think you can't stick a job. So it's like, it doesn't look good on your CV in it. But I just kind of became good at knowing how to kind of, I took a lot of companies off my CV because it started to work against me being at so many companies. So I don't show them. I don't really tell them I worked at a few companies. But yeah, it was a kind of a process of elimination where I just did a lot of internships in it and built my experience there, and I also learned what they wanted to hear. So I just started to say what they wanted me to say in these interviews, and got to a point where fake it till you make it. So now I actually know what I'm doing in it. Like, I actually know. So
do you think like this is where you want to make your kind of life, or do you see like what's like the goal if you have one right now?
Well, for now, obviously the job I have now is like, it's good for who I am now in it, and the kind of development I need personally, you know, in terms of kind of diversifying my own skill set, and it's a challenge in it. So it makes sense, and also there's a lot of like I was saying, like there's an element of like entrepreneurialism in the sense that I'm kind of left to my own devices quite a bit in it. Like, you kind of have to know how to service a client, because I work with a lot of clients. So like no one really tells you what to do, because they're doing what they need to do. So they need you to know what to do as well. So once you kind of show that you don't need someone to hold your hand, they kind of just leave you to it, innit?
What's PR, by the way?
It's public relations. So it's public relations, but also called communications, innit? Just kind of depends on how old the person is. If they're an old man, they're going to say public relations, innit? Communications is more the newer term. But essentially it's... I
thought it was public relations.
Yeah, public relations. Public relations is what most people will know as well, innit?
Oh, yeah.
Like, but you would have heard of communications as well.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing, innit? It's just kind of, it's just like, it kind of speaks more to just what you know about the industry, innit? But basically, like, in my particular job, I work with a lot of like business corporates and corporate businesses. So I do what's called corporate and financial PR. So you have like corporate and financial PR. You'll have like healthcare PR. You have political, like public affairs. In America, it's called lobbying. But like every sector will have like a dedicated PR team.
Like
or
spin doctors.
Yeah, but spin doctors is not.
I
They
know
don't really like that word, innit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Olivia Pope and
but yeah, obviously them shows glamorize it, but it's not that exciting, innit? But obviously, basically, we kind of manage the relationship between our clients and their stakeholders, in it, which a lot of the time is the media. So it will be like journalists and stuff like that. But then if you're a politician, then obviously it's the public, in it, like the people that vote for you. Sometimes businesses need to manage relationship with government. So like, if say for example, if there's a bill being passed in it, like when I was interning a few years ago at a public affairs agency, there was like a bill that was being proposed that said fast food companies can't advertise after 10. It's one of the weak attempts to kind of do something about obesity. It's not going to do anything in it.
Yeah.
But obviously, like the fast food companies are like, this is going to hurt like the small businesses more than anyone else, isn't it? Like McDonald's is going to be alright. McDonald's don't need to advertise, innit? So like there was like a coalition of fast food companies that wanted us to help them convince government not to pass this bill. So then public affairs, you would then kind of create a campaign and target like the MPs who are likely to vote on this thing, because MPs don't always vote on all the bills, innit? So you have to figure out which MPs are kind of under pressure, which MPs are likely to vote, and then kind of target that MP and figure out how to kind of get the MP to vote a certain way.
Okay.
So that's kind of what lobbying or public affairs or / lobbying is, isn't it? Like when you hear people talk about gun lobbies in America, it's like there's a bill on gun, licensing and all that stuff. How do we get the Senate to vote this way?
Yeah.
Most of the time it's boring stuff, innit? That's probably I don't really find it interesting because I don't really care about fast food like stuff like that, innit? Like Heathrow expansion was another one I worked on. Heathrow wanted to get that third runway in it, so they need MPs to vote on it. So a lot of the time you're kind of developing a campaign to kind of get MPs to vote a certain way. But I didn't really find that interesting in it. What I do now is I work with like a lot of big corporate companies, like a lot of companies based in the city, and we kind of handle their relationships with business media in it. So say for example, like there's a company that's listed like public, it's on a public stock exchange, so like you can buy shares of this company. That company has to report their financial earnings, because if you're buying shares in a company,
you need to know that information.
You have to know in it, but you have to report it in a way that it, even if it's bad, it doesn't sound bad. You don't want to say, it's been a mad year, Like, you can't say that, innit? So you have to report it in a way, even if there's a bad number, you have to figure out how to communicate so that, this was impacted by COVID. So you kind of put the blame on something else, in it, not that you man are lacking in it. So we kind of handle, for public companies, we would handle how they communicate their financial performance, because there's a process that you have to communicate things if you're listed publicly. For private companies, you have a different set of stakeholders, because you don't have to report your numbers, in it, but you have like private investors who would need to know how the company's doing, or like if you're a company that your investments impact real life people, like you're buying a football team, for example, or buying a league or whatever it is.
We'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah, so if people have an idea that this interference is bad, then it might scare people away from doing business with you, innit? So generally speaking, we'll like basically build relationships with the media, and then say to the media like, do you want to talk to this guy at this company so that he can explain what this actually means, or so that he can talk on this deal or he can talk on that. So we're essentially the middleman, innit? So instead of the journalists just writing whatever they want to write about, we kind of manage the whole process. So they write. It allows the clients, like the companies, to have a voice in it and to kind of communicate properly. So in a nutshell, that's, we're like the middleman that manages relationships with businesses and the media, so the message gets across the way they want it to, innit?
So that,
yeah, this is kind of a different segue. So obviously I know you mentioned before when you were, I guess, kind of interning, you were working with companies that kind of had to deal with the government as well. Yeah. So I guess, did being a Muslim at all kind of influence your decision to move away from that kind of sector and move towards like business and media?
That was part of it. Mainly it's because I just didn't like it. That's the main thing. Yeah. When you work in public affairs as well, you have to like be mad involved in politics.
Yeah,
like,
I remember you mentioned that.
As before, in, you have to be a member of a party. So I actually joined the Labour Party because of that, and I went to one Labour Party meeting and I never went back again, because it's like watching kids. Honestly, it's like watching kids. I never went to another Labour Party meeting. But you have to be involved in like politics. You have to be affiliated with a party, because you have to kind of like, you can't pay me to tell an MP to vote a certain way if I don't know the MP in it. So you can't just email the MP and say, oh, do you want to vote on this way? It's never going to be that way. You have to kind of leverage your relationship
to get in there. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to actually be in the party, and you have to actually shake hands and know people, and you actually have to be able to, like, say, set up a conference, for example, and then invite the MP, or put on an event and invite the MP and introduce the MP to the business. So then when it comes to now passing the bill, the MP is going to say, you know what?
That sounds too inner. That sounds
mad
too
inner.
That sounds too.
Sounds like a plot of a TV show.
It's mad
Sounds
inner.
too-
Like, when I was at this, so the company I worked at called Portland, yeah. So Alistair Campbell was a partner there. Alistair Campbell was the guy that ran Tony Blair's election campaign. And the guy that founded it was one of Tony Blair's advisors as well. And then there's, like, obviously there's Labour and Tory, so there's someone who's, like, works on Theresa May, or used to work on Theresa May's team. So just people that actually know man in Parliament or whatever. And there'll be days here where I'm sitting in the office and then someone comes in and goes, oh, so I just got off the phone with this guy. Theresa May's going to say this at this time tomorrow. And then she says it. So it's like these men have the inside loop before it's in the news.
It does sound like the TV shows.
It's it gladly does, yeah. But that's the level of involvement you have to have with these.
Yeah, that's not.
And it's like I'm not interested in that to that level, to really have that inside.
You don't want to get caught up in.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a dangerous road.
It's mad dangerous, especially like. And then obviously politicians have to kind of reflect society. So like certain conversations, even if you have a stance on it, you can't have that stance because society's not letting you have that stance in it. So there's a lot of stuff that's like you don't want to go too down that political road in it.
So is I guess the kind of field you're currently working in, is that more, I would say, conducive for you as a person and as a Muslim?
Yeah, definitely not. It's like there's less like the main thing, like I was saying, is a drinking culture. So like where I have to build relationships with journalists in it, and
they want to meet over a drink.
This is it.
Yeah.
They want to meet over a drink, and like obviously they get, like, my company has an expense budget where they'll pay for it, innit? But I don't ever invite journalists for drinks ever. I always say, do you want to go for a coffee? That's my thing. Or do you want to go for lunch? I don't invite them for drinks, but these men love a beer, fam. They love a beer, like, and they're going getting tipsy at lunch. They go and meet journalists. Oh yeah, I'm a bit drunk, so I went to go meet journalists. It's like, fam, like that's fully the culture.
The working day.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like the working day, like they're doing presentations.
It's not even Asher time.
Had a few mimosas. I'm like, fam. But it's just like they always telling man, yeah, let's go for drinks, let's go for this, and it's like I don't do that in a lot. Like you can get a journalist to write something without even meeting them. Firstly, like you can just send them an email and call them and ask them, and if it's a good enough story, they'll write it. So you don't actually have to meet them.
Yeah,
it's just
part of the culture. And
yeah, like it just it's better if you can meet them because then they know you in it and they like you. But you don't like the way the way most people in this country do it is over drinks. That's how they bond in it. But for me, it's like obviously I don't do that in it. So I just
does that impact how easily you're able to form relationships, or is it still calm?
It's calm, really. Yeah. Like, the thing is, there's a lot of people don't drink still. Like my CEO stopped drinking. The vice chairman doesn't drink. There's a partner that don't drink. So there's a lot of people that do this job without drinking. Like and even journalists, there's a lot of journalists that won't drink either. So obviously, like, and I also find as well that people that kind of do the drinking thing excessively, especially if at the start of your career, it holds you back in it. Like if you can do it, like you know, a lot of people, they come to work here and they say they can't wait for Thursday, like they can't wait for drinks, like can't wait to pop a beer and that. You can actually see in the standard of their work they're not doing a good job. Like you can actually see it. Like,
hella spelling errors.
You can see it. Like it's like you're here for the way. You're literally here to get waved. Like so, I don't feel as though, you know. And I think some people definitely take that whole like be friendly in the workplace thing a bit too serious. Obviously, I know how to interact with my colleagues and that, but like they would rather someone that doesn't do the beggy thing but gets the job done than someone that does the beggy thing and doesn't get a job done. Innit? So if you're here thinking, yeah, I'm going to drink all the time, someone asks me to drink, make sure you're doing the job as well. If you're not doing the job, then it's pointless. Like so, for me, like especially because I've had over a year and a half experience already. So it's not like I know enough in it. Like I know I'm the best at everyone on my level anyway. Not even an arrogant thing, but like I don't feel as though me not drinking.
inject that, bro.
Not even an arrogant thing, but obviously these men are fresh out of uni, innit? I'm not fresh out of uni, so.
Oh, okay.
Small boys to me.
That's what I'm saying. So I've just figured out how to do it my way, innit? And that's just the main thing. But that's what I mean by entrepreneurialism. Like you have to figure out how it works for you, innit? Like how you do it, innit? So, but yeah, man, it's definitely like, you know, like not being involved in a political thing and not having to kind of like just all that stuff is just it's long, man. I'm not here for that. So this is definitely more conducive.
Let me do a young segue. Yeah, it's kind of based on the whole, you know, spin thing. Oh, sorry, PR thing. Like timeline. So like on the same day that I heard, and I may be wrong in terms of the chronology of this, but on the same day I heard that, or the headline was what, Nike suspends all sales in Israel. I don't know if you heard about this.
When was that?
This was in the week, sometime this week. Nike, you know, suspends all sales in Israel. Is the same day I heard that a law was, or anyway, some court approved or allowed in Israel Jews to pray overtly in Masjid al-Aqsa, which wasn't allowed before. Not by law, but apparently what there's a ban on Jewish people praying in the masjid because of obviously it's going to cause beef in it.
Yeah.
So there's a ban. Not in law, but there's like a ban order or something, or whatever. So it's not like an act of law, but it's a ban. And some rabbi went and did it, and then he was stopped by the police, and then the old black reprimanded, and the court said that, you know, they were wrong to do that, and he's allowed to do it. So basically saying that from now on, obviously because of precedent, that they're allowed to pray in the mosque, essentially, the Jewish prayers in the mosque.
So that's the most recent.
So the more recent update, which has come maybe a few days later. I've just read this morning, actually, or yesterday night, that a higher court in Israel has overruled that court. So they're back to us, yeah. But at the time, what people were saying, I was hearing a lot of, was that basically a court in Israel, because obviously, you know, with social media news as well, you know, people ain't gonna read the whole article, they read the headline type thing. But essentially, it was, so Jews are allowed to pray like Jewish prayers in Masjid al-Aqsa now, which is obviously, with what's been going on, you know, over the last few years, and what's been going on more, like even more recently, it's almost like another act of aggression, another kind of step towards completely, you know, washing out the whole of the Muslims and Palestinians from, you know, Palestine. But on the same day but don't worry about that, because Nike, woohoo, stopped selling in Israel. So, you know, we're back in the beef. So people said, what I was getting a lot of was that, you know, this is like and apparently even that story is not even really true either. There's more to it. I can go into it in a bit of a second. But is that like, so like, the thing I was going to say from your case is that obviously with Nike, what I've basically read is that that's not true, essentially, really.
Yeah.
It's part of a global strategic thing, and there's still going to be Nike being sold in Israel, to my knowledge anyway, from what I've read. But Nike, obviously, if that goes out, they're not really going to correct it. You didn't hear them say anything.
Yeah.
So is that basically like an example of spin and what? Yeah,
that's a form of spin. Yeah, I think I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called dead cat on the table or something like that. So basically, imagine we're having an argument and then I slap a dead cat on the table, you're gonna look at the dead cat in it. So it's called something like that, innit? Boris Johnson does that all the time. Like, if you notice it, anytime there's a madness, Boris Johnson says, "Oh, I know how many kids I have." So now it's not Boris Johnson's kids are not the madness, innit? So stuff like that it's like you're kind of distracting, because obviously in a day the media can only really write about one thing. One thing can only be the headline, innit? So if you can give them something more interesting than the other thing, they're gonna write about that, innit? So it's like, you know, we give you this, slap a dead cat on the table, and then you're all looking at the dead cat and you're not actually looking at this thing. Problem. So that's kind of like that's what a lot of people do. That would kind of be called crisis comms, isn't it? I've done a bit of that. Like I don't really do it anymore. It's a lot of work. You always.
Also, you've been putting dead cats on the table.
I've never put dead cats on the table, but I've definitely worked on some dodgy accounts. I've been at PR firms with dodgy histories. Like when I was in 2018, I was at a PR firm that was representing the government of Saudi when they killed Khashoggi. We were working for like the media, the Department for Media, but I wasn't really involved in that account too much. But also I didn't really know anything. But my first corporate internship was with a company called Bell Pottinger. Anyone that knows PR would have heard of Bell Pottinger. There's like the guy that founded it, Tim Bell. He's like basically the guy that founded corporate PR in the UK in the 70s. He ran Margaret Thatcher's election campaign. So like he's dead now, but he's like the OG PR guy in it. So he founded Bell Pottinger, and that company has been involved in hella scandals, like all this history. When Nelson Mandela came out of prison and ran for president, they represented the guy running against him. That's how mad they are. Like
some scummy guys.
They've done some scummy stuff. They made fake,
and they would have been dragging his name through the mud.
They would have been doing all that stuff. They made fake Al Qaeda videos for the Pentagon. Like, they've done some dodgy stuff, but they always got away because it's Lord Bell, isn't it? Tim Bell, he's Margaret Thatcher's guy, like #1 guy. When she died, he announced it. That's how. So it's like he's old. No one can get that company in it. But what finished them was in 2017, late 2016 I think it was. They went out to South Africa, and there's a family called the Gupta family. It's an Indian billionaire family. You would have heard the Gupta family recently with this green cell thing that David Cameron's involved with. But basically, his Gupta family's been accused of corruption and of bribing the South African government for like mining contracts. So like, it's saying that the Gupta family let the South African president's daughter take their jets and stuff like that, and the kind of familiarity you're meant to have in it. So people were accusing the Guptas of bribing the government and being corrupt. Because the Guptas are Indian, obviously they brought on Bell Pottinger to kind of manage their PR, to kind of turn this negative spin positive, innit? So the campaign they came up with was to kind of stoke the racial tensions in South Africa. Because, South Africa is still, apartheid is only the 90s, isn't it? So there's still a lot of racial divide, in it. So they came with a narrative of like the white capitalist elite not liking the fact that there's an Indian family that's billionaires. So they went and started making up social media posts and Facebook stuff, and they started to kind of, essentially they wanted to get poor black people mad at the white capitalists to defend the Guptas, innit? But then the whole thing leaked. So the whole thing leaked, and then
the world is evil,
It's mad. It's mad. But the whole thing leaked, and everyone found out Bell Pottinger was involved. And
when you hide them, you don't let people know you hide them, innit? You have to just
like you can't. Yeah, you're not meant to say, especially
their name can't be attached to you.
Because if I'm known for being a cleanup guy and you hire me, you got something to clean up.
You got a mess. Then there's a mess. There's obviously a mess. Yeah.
The whole world found out Bell Pottinger was involved, and then they started to pick up in it. And I had my internship was in like summer 2017. 2 weeks after I finished, the company went into administration because there was a Newsnight piece, and then obviously it got so out of order. This was the thing that finally got Bell Pottinger out of it. But like all the stuff they did before, they always got away with it. But like they where it went wrong here was that there was just like this lack of urgency, like because they had a new CEO in it, so the Lord Bell had kind of been kicked out. So there was a company that bought Bell Pottinger, and they wanted to clean him up, make him a bit more corporate friendly in it. So they kind of kicked Lord Bell out, and he sold off all his shares. So he sold off his shares for like 20 mil, something like that. Late 2016. So he had no financial involvement. The last thing he did was win the Gupta account. So he actually went with them to go get that account. And then he just left it to Bell Pottinger. But the new CEO is someone that he didn't seem to care that there was a mad scandal, because I think they kind of just felt as if we get out all of it. Like every time we get out, so we're not going to do nothing this time. So like they just didn't react to it. And like people came to Bell Pottinger's offices, throwing pill in their office window. Like that was just a mad scandal, and they just didn't do anything. They just thought it was gonna blow over.
Yeah.
Then the Newsnight piece dropped, and then it's like once the Newsnight piece dropped, all their clients started to leave them. Then the company went into administration. But you know what the maddest thing is for me personally? Yeah, the CEO was engaged like the Swedish like heiress in a billionaire, whatever. Dad's a billionaire. At the start of the year, he told her to buy shares in a company. So he's engaged to marry this rich billionaire's daughter. He told her to buy shares in Bell Pottinger when this whole thing is happening. When the company went into administration, do you think he got married? Do you think did she put peas in that company? Like, she put peas. I think she was able to get some of it back, but that's how arrogant this guy was, that you're telling your fiance to put peas in a company that's going for a mad scandal. Like that whole thing.
It's just mad. I wonder if things I took from that. You know, like the way that there's people, like, you know, when you think of, you know, a scandal happens or a big thing happens and people are outraged, and you know, all the black people, or like, okay, let's take a look at ourselves. You know, the Africans or the black people or the Yorubas are upset with the houses, the black people are annoyed with the police. And, you know, like, it's mad that so much of this is just part of somebody's chess game.
Someone's agenda,
up there. And then when you're saying people, like, it's not real, like, as in can't calm down, the whole mob mentality, like, you know, at the end of the day, there's always somebody.
There's someone pulling strings.
It's always part of someone's plan.
Yeah,
and that's why this whole politics thing is, anything like politics or getting involved with certain types of, you know,
Organization.
It's just
You don't
evil,
actually
innit?
know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
yeah,
you don't
it's
actually know what you're
just
doing.
part of a. At the end of the day, the systems that run the world, the kind of modern politics, you know, democracy, autocracy, all of these types of things, all the systems that are involved, especially in Western politics, but obviously it seeped into Africa and Asia with the corruption and all that. It's all the basis of all of it is corruption and selfishness and greed and evil. And it's so impossible because it's so well established, well run, and just all consuming. I don't see how, you know, people think, you know, I'm going to come in and change it. I don't think it's possible.
It's definitely not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. And it's a fool's game.
If stuff like this is being done on a regular basis, it's become that easy for the public to just be manipulated. That
especially social media. It's so
what's
easy
just going to
now.
rile people up, and they can do it.
And anyone
seamlessly.
can go. Anyone can, like, there's no JFK, Martin Luther King, Mark. Like, if you really are a problem, you're not going to be around for very long. Like, so unless if you're not feeding into the system and growing the system, and you're bad for the system, you're going to get erased.
Anyone can get it.
Like these man, that's why I don't even get involved in party politics no more. These men actually don't understand, because in the job I have now, like I learn a lot. I get exposure because obviously the CEO's a baller and the clients we work with, we've got billionaire clients and that. Like you see you start to understand the world in a different way. Like, and I've been understanding the world in a different way. There's so many things that I didn't understand now that I understand, and I think it gets to a point where it's actually almost delusion if you think you can change this stuff. Like it's this stuff is so deeply entrenched. This is a system. This is how we built. Like this is how society was built hundreds of years ago. Like you're not gonna come with a Twitter thread and change everything. Like this stuff is so deep. Like this is such a this is like it's who we are as a society. That's why I think you have to know you have to obviously understand it first and then just accept it. And also like go back to earlier point as well. Like let the man that want the dunya have the dunya in it.
Yeah, 100.
Like just let them have it, man. Because, but then also these man, like these guys, like I don't even envy them, you know. Like I actually don't even envy them. I don't envy wealth, like because even if religion aside, like that can be lost in one generation. All it takes is the guy that built the company to die. It's all gone because the son is gonna run that company into the ground. So these men are constantly afraid of that. They're constantly scared of losing all the wealth they have. Or it takes a new invention, like up until like 10, 20 years ago, the highest traded companies were like weapons manufacturers and these like infrastructure companies. Now it's tech companies. Imagine your whole life you've known that you sell concrete and all these things, or you sell metals and that. You're the biggest company. Some guy made a code. Now he's number one.
Some code, yeah.
It's done. Like what you're doing, it's like you're not number one no more. Like society's changed. That's all it takes. And the wealth you had, it's done. Like people that lose their mind over wealth and people say things, oh, I have to be a billionaire. Why like this? what's there? Like it's nothing. Like it's a nice car and that.
And the politics thing, like obviously it's been said before in this podcast, but I think it needs to be echoed. You know, seeking, because I liken anything to do with like, you know, seeking. You know, I want to be president. I want to change this. I liken. I think it's just I put it all in the umbrella seeking power in it. Seeking, and like fam, any seeking power. There's a reason that like Islam teaches us it's not something you want to be messing with because it will ruin you. You're going to be what? You're going to be held responsible for it. And if Allah gives it to you, it's the Hadith. And if Allah gives it to you, then you know, well, I forgot what's the word of the Hadith. If it's given to you, then
Allah will help you.
Allah will help you, exactly. And if it's
anyone that's seeking power should
then
be
whatever that happens as a result of that power will be used. You'll be held accountable for it. So and do you know what I mean? It's a warning. It's a warning, and you're not going to be warned unless the thing that the warning is against is something you should definitely not do. If seeking power, wanting to change the world and wanting to, you know, change with the governments was good for us, then there would have been countless verses and hadiths telling us to go and do it. But it's not. It is if it's something that is given to you. It's something that's entrusted in you. So boy,
that's facts.
Yeah, man. What else did I have anything else on my list?
It's completely different what we're actually going to talk about today.
Oh yeah, go on. What was? Is there anything?
No, I don't mind. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying,
Let me look at the thing.
What did you have on your list?
No, I remember we were just kind of talking about maybe mentioning just like balancing.
Oh yeah,
Deen
balancing
and
Deen
career.
and that. Yeah. That's something that I want to touch on that as well, innit? So I started this month started Medina College again, innit?
Yeah. So
Yeah. So that's like, and I was thinking as well, like, because I had this convo like with my siblings and my mum as well, just sending kids to like just kind of making the most of your youth and going actually Americas and stuff like that, and actually getting knowledge, because once you start working, like depending on the job you have obviously, but those hours fly by, man, and you actually probably have to make a conscious effort to make time as well.
Yeah.
So that's something when like if you work in an environment that's very like demanding of you, and even when you're not working, you know, like the public affairs thing, when you're not working, you're meant to be going to like,
you're meant to be tuned in.
do you get what I'm
always,
saying?
yeah,
Like
to
you're
the
meant
matrix,
to be, like.
So you're never really leaving.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Work.
You don't leave work at work. You have to like, you know, the MP messages you on Saturday. They got like consultations, and you know, MP never stops being an MP in it. So if you're working with an MP or whatever, those type of jobs are mad demanding, and you don't really get much free time in it. So that's a big part of the reason why I didn't really want to do that either. And it's a lot of ego as well. Like egos, especially if someone's an MP, like you're saying, if someone's seeking power, the ego is going to be mad. And so many MPs, they want the next level. Like all of them, most of them want to be prime minister one day, innit? So when you're working with that type of ego, it's like you have to know how to kind of not tiptoe, but kind of manage that, because you can't stick it on them, but you also can't talk to them in a way that you can't just let them feel like they can message you anytime they want. So it's a lot. That type of environment takes so much from you. And like generally speaking, once you start working, like it just takes so much from you anyway. Like that's what I was thinking. I kind of just wanted to, I don't know. I guess it's more advice anyway, innit? Just for people before you start working, just to be conscious of that, like, and also know how to push back against work and your colleagues and that as well, because they will take all your time if you're not careful. And make the most of your youth, man. That's if there's one thing I could change, it will definitely be
same, man,
to go back and do more when I had the time.
Same,
Obviously, money's
same.
a big part of it, but there's stuff you could have done without money as well. You know,
100.
But to make the most of your youth, man, because if there's it's one thing I can change is that to have done more when I was younger. But also if I could have a job where I have a bit more flexibility as well. But these are things you don't really learn.
That easy for you, man.
I mean, yeah, these are things you don't really learn until you actually get into it, man.
Yep.
Until you get into the thick of it.
That's it. That's like, obviously, we're similar age, or all similar age, but you know, us two are similar.
Yeah, you're a small boy, innit?
Yeah, I know he's a young one, innit? I'll echo that, innit? I'll echo that, innit? Because like, yeah, man, I do look with pride and envy at the same time. I guess not envy, but you know what I mean, good envy, in that when I see like the young people, like the ones in that uni age, really striving and not being inactive in that time, because it's the best time to do. It's the best time, that 16 to end of uni age. Yeah, that's the golden. Those are the golden hours, man. So, and yeah, that's that period of life. There's no period of life that's like that.
This is it.
Where you've got structure. You know, your life is still kind of in a lot of cases almost kind of paid for, or you know what I mean, there's a bit of a structure to it. You're still part of it. There's structure to your life. You're not free. You're part, but you've got a lot of free time at the same time as well.
Yeah, and you're if you're still in sixth form, you're used to studying as well.
Yeah,
You're actually
you're in the swing of it.
You're good at studying, innit? Like,
That's another point.
you know
You
what
know?
I'm saying? Like, so
100%.
like it's what you do. Like always in the library, always studying.
So you to incorporate,
do you know what I'm saying?
you know, something that's, you know, the Deen into that is essential. Nah, that's very good advice. Ibs, was you gonna?
No. I don't know. What was I gonna say? No,
I can clap in for you on that.
Yeah, forget it. Just go on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. While we don't, this doesn't have to be the end, but I wanted to touch on, you know, and it's kind of, I guess it's linking that, just the and this will, I guess, will feed into the bites. I don't know how this is actually gonna come out, but it might just be a long bite, so it might just be whatever. But this is the bites, isn't it? So it is what it is. It is what it is. No, but essentially, I wanted to touch on just like the masjid, man, because like as you said, like I'm driving past Old Kent Road, yeah, and seeing
It
like,
not there anymore.
it not there anymore.
Yeah.
That 3-story, was it 3-story building?
Yeah.
that's a fixture of Old Kent Road.
Been there all my life.
Fam, it's
Literally.
been even before, obviously before the mosque was a pub. So that building was a part of Old Kent Road, like established part of Old Kent Road for 100 years or something. So like just to see that thing not there leveled, it's trying to like actually like like it sends. I was driving with Mrs. and her little sister. We were going to our house, family's house, in yesterday, and she was just like, where's the mosque? She was like, this is shot. Like at first, and it's mad. They took it down in. For context, by the way, our Old Kent Road mosque, the one that we all grew up in, the one that we all went to like Arabic school in or whatever, and that we all attend for youth and blah blah blah, youth circles and groups or whatever, is I guess phase 1 of the reconstruction has begun. The money is not money in the way it should be. So
you know what though? We can make a few phone calls and tap in some of our rich friends.
Fam,
that's you.
That's you, fam. Holla Nick Clegg and them, man. It's been phase 1 has begun a reconstruction. Obviously, the money for rebuilding it currently is not there. More money is needed current end, so to the point where we can't actually give you a clear timeline, or we can't give a clear timeline and exactly on when the new mosque will be rebuilt and finished. May Allah allow us to see that day, and may Allah make that day a lot sooner than we think it is going to be now. So like it's just like man, like as I was saying, in a couple of steps, this is gonna be a long bite, sorry Ibs. In a couple of steps, like first, I don't know if you saw it when it was beheaded. So at first it was like they took like the top floor and half of the second floor, so you could even see like the mimbar, like the kind of there, like just but like it's as if it was beheaded. It sounded it was mad, like it was, and then now obviously it's been leveled. It's just it's crazy, man, and just thinking that like there's gonna be people that like, for example, elderly people, for example, that have been going to that mosque since they've been in this country, and they may have prayed their last prayer. Even us, we could have prayed our last prayer, man, that we don't know. And there's going to be people that, for example, there's going to be people that, a generation, the 8, 9, 10 years, the way that they could resonate with the masjid, because that's when where they went to their school, blah blah. That because of this period, they're not gonna have that. And subhanAllah, it's actually mad, man. And you don't deep like obviously we've been in COVID, Zoom, all of that stuff. Like the importance of having a place is vital. Like we're trying to do December camp, and then like I've been, and there's another thing, it's highlighted. I've been looking for like, or a lot of people have been looking for that different masajid, like different mosques to ask if they can host.
It's not gonna be the same though, isn't it?
Firstly, it's not gonna be the same, but a second thing is, fam, there's nowhere, it's hard to find somewhere, fam. So I've looked at, I won't say the names of places, I've went to one mosque in particular, which is not ELM, because people think there's ELM when I explain it. That is predominantly, it's big, it's like a Asian Bengali owned mosque. It's perfect settings and all of that kind of stuff. But when you come in there, and they know people from Man or whatever, but when you ask, like, I want to bring 100, youths to your mosque, like to sleep, like you could, they're like, and obviously they're Asian. It's a bit, do you know what I mean? It's like you can tell it's a bit, or you go to another, and that maybe Nigerian mosque, a different Nigerian mosque that maybe know us a bit more closely or whatever, and it's not mad. Maybe people from their congregation or whatever go to Man, so. And they just ain't got the facilities, like they ain't got the capacity in it.
Does it have to be at a mosque?
So we don't have the capacity.
Does it have to be at a mosque?
I'm putting the meme in there. Say that again.
Does it have to be a mosque?
It doesn't have to be a mosque, and inshallah, I think there's been some movement. I see my log around. Tawfiq in this. That like they're trying to get a residential in like another place over Christmas, but I think just having it in the mosque, like the December camp is December camp and summer camp is summer camp, innit? They're distinct. They're both.
Summer camp is in the mosque for a reason.
December camp
is in the mosque.
I said December camp,
You said summer,
and then I said December. I did.
I heard summer twice.
Boy, I don't know.
Okay.
That Tommy hat is too tight, innit? Obviously, shout out Ibs, he's doing sponsored again today. you in it. Obviously, I hope they're paying you well.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah, man. There's what was I saying? Yeah, like just it's like the fact that imagine like for example, imagine our life without my mosque. It'd just be so like it'll be a madness. Yeah. Like who knows where it will be if that building didn't not even man, like the man in the organization, but the fact that there was a physical building to go to is probably the reason. Because if there, it's just having a space. Yeah, it's mad, man, and not having it, boy, it's gonna be tough. What's
the timeline then? Are you allowed to talk about that? Or
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As of now, obviously, I'm not like on the fundraising committee. It is more like Teslim's field. Maybe we'll get him on as well. Maybe one day to speak. Shall I bell him? Shall I bell him?
Oh, you could.
Should I bell him? These times he's probably no interest. He's probably washing the bath. Is it gonna work?
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah,
on your headphones. Yeah.
Yeah.
See if he answers.
Assalamualaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Assalamualaikum. You're live on Jollof after Jummah. Please don't swear. Honestly, you can take your yellow gloves off and start washing the bath for a second. Sorry, bro. I know it's random, yeah, but I feel like we were talking about the masjid, yeah, about man, and we thought you were the best person to call because Issa's here as well, and he mentioned
Jesus, mashallah.
Jesus is local. And we were talking. He asked about timeline, innit? And obviously, it's a bit higgy, but you know, where we can, obviously, we don't know who's listening. We don't know how the route that Allah is gonna bless us from. So we wanted you to just say a few words on what the state is. Obviously, we spoke about the fact that it's been knocked down. We don't know. Obviously, the money is not money. But if you could just give a brief, quick, 2-minute, 3-minute update on where we are, what needs to be done, how people can help, thought would be a good, quick little random thing to do. So Bismillah.
Yeah, okay.
I know I put you on the spot, but yeah, Bismillah.
This is your time to shine, though.
Man said shine. So as people may know, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, we've raised enough money to start phase 1, which is demolition, and putting up the initial frame of the building. So up till date, most of the money that's been spent has been spent on the actual design of the scheme. So alhamdulillah, we got to a point where we demolished the masjid in September, but we still need quite a bit to finish phase 1, and inshallah we'll move on to phase 2 and 3. So in total, the cost of the redevelopment projects will cost about 6 to 7 billion. Alhamdulillah, we've been able to raise just over 1.2, if 1.3, if memory serves correct.
That was million.
So you said million, bro. You said million, not billion, right?
Million. Million. Mil.
That's the
That's it's easy. Obviously, it's not even billion. So yeah, alhamdulillah. So it's easy, right? Alhamdulillah. So most of the funds that have been raised have been raised internally. So it's just literally the small community that we have in South London. But as we know, the masjid has served people from far and beyond. All the West Africans who come to the UK, they usually use the OK Road Masjid as the base. Even the main congregants within OK Road Mosque aren't actually the Nigerians. You have the Somalis, you have the Moroccans, the Algerians, the North Africans. So alhamdulillah, we've been blessed with a very kind of diverse congregation. So yeah, it's all hands on deck, to be honest. I've been pushing to get a lot more of the youth involved. Again, we benefited so much from the masjid, growing up. I know I have anyway. Yeah. So that's why I'm involved, really, because at the end of the day, I know that I wouldn't be where I am, alhamdulillah, without the masjid, without the youth support. So it's a sadaqah tijariyah, right? So if we're able to establish something that can benefit more and more youth and more of our community, then we know that inshallah that will be heavy on our scales and on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And so that's all it's about, to be honest. yeah, the mosque is essentially, as we know it, is gone in terms of the building, but the space is still there. The opportunity to build, essentially build our houses in Jannah is literally calling us. So anyone who's listening to this message, please, dig deep. If it's not money, we need volunteers. We need people with ideas. Again, it's using social media and all that kind of stuff to get the word out there. If anybody has any expertise, any advice, all ears. So if it's not the money that people can't provide, I know the Malik might have, he's a secret millionaire out here. So obviously, if he wants to drop a cool meal, that'll be very nice.
Yeah.
But again, for those who don't have that, inshallah, your time is just as valuable, because we need all hands on deck, inshallah, to try and achieve the best for the masjid.
Jazakallah khair, bro. Barakallah feek. Yeah, man. Just on echoing, because obviously this is part of the bites, the long bites of Jollof that if just gonna have to edit for me. But yeah, man. Like the masjid is essential. The first thing, what did they do when they after Hijrah, when they established themselves in Medina? The first thing the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did was establish the masjid. If you don't know the story, essentially, he was riding the camel and they were dragging the camel, and he said leave it. He said sallallahu alaihi wasallam said allow the camel to kind of stop where it wants to stop, and where it landed, he said this is Allah's guiding the camel, and this is where they're going to build the masjid. And the lessons from that, the first thing is obviously this is it's the fundamental location for the Muslims, for the establishment of any Muslim community. It's the hub. It's the place of education. It's the place where he even decided to have his living quarters. It's the place that if you build one, as Bro Taslim just said, you have a house in Jannah. If you're gonna have a house in Jannah, that essentially means you're gonna have a place in Jannah. It's a sadaqah jariyah, as he said. The people that pray in this place are gonna be contribute to the reward for their prayers that you're gonna be sharing in that reward, inshallah. It's so vital, man. And like we said, like every single time we mention anything to do with, he said the first thing he came on, he said he's one of the mandim. The mandim is not the mandim without the masjid. The Jollof after Jummah is not Jollof after Jummah without the masjid. The alim that we all have, the people of knowledge, the hafiz that we have, the reverts that we have, the marriages that we have, the children that come from the marriages that we have are none of them are anything without the masjid. So it's essential, man. So there's if you look at Jollof after Jummah, and you see anything that resembles good, you see any the nur that you see coming from the beard of Brother Isa and Brother Ibrahim, it's nothing without the masjid. So if you see anything, and the sideburns of Abdul Malik, if you see anything that resembles good, or that you want to contribute to, this doesn't have to stop here. There's hundreds of generations, inshallah, that to follow, and why not get yourself some of the reward for what is to follow, man. So and as Bro Tess said, doesn't have to be monetary. However you can help, it'll be greatly appreciated. So yeah, man. Tess, jazakallah khair for that, and I'll put you on the spot, but barakallah feet, man. We'll leave you.
Thanks for the nudge about the shirts at Charles Twitter. I might have to get a few.
Good.
Inside joke.
Isa, I hope they've served you jollof rice this week.
Yeah, man. Off that phone.
Off that phone.
Alright, cool. So I go to London.
Is he gone? Cool. Yeah. So's production didn't hear any of that, but
yeah, I felt bad. I was looking at it.
I'm thinking.
But yeah, man. But yeah, essentially, I think that's just an important message to relay, man. Like I was like, yeah, I think I said what I said in terms of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The as I said, establishing the masjid is vital. It's vital. Before brotherhood, before the army, those are the things he did. After that was the masjid. It's the hub. It's the base. So and that goes. And if you're not, forget man, moving away from man, mosque. Just as brothers, you know, brothers particularly, get yourselves in the masjid. If you're struggling, if you're like, you know, if religion is, you know, you're struggling with your iman, is fluctuating, you know, you're around bad and etc. But just get yourself in the masjid. You'll find good there.
That being said, there is just one thing I want to touch on quickly before we wrap. Before I say what I want to talk about, have you guys? Obviously, we know we know that we've had man as like a hub since we were kids. Have you guys ever walked into another masjid that wasn't man and kind of just felt at home?
Yes. That might surprise you, but I don't know. I don't know what you thought.
Not necessarily surprising.
There's a couple.
I think it's
There's
good.
a couple.
What do you mean by
I'll shut them
what
up.
do you mean by
Like
at home?
you just walk in, and because I know that I've walked into several other masjids and just been like, okay, I'm just here to pray. This isn't my masjid. That's I've like throughout my life. I walked into Lewisham Masjid about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
There's one opposite the hospital.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I walked into that masjid like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I genuinely felt something I've never felt before, apart from that man. I genuinely just felt at home.
Yeah, that's
inside the
what does that mean though? Like, what does feeling at home mean?
Just like I belong there. It's weird to explain.
Black?
No,
They're not black.
That's the thing. They're not, and that's what also surprised me. They're not.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by home.
Yeah, I know. It's a weird thing to explain.
Do you know what I think you mean? What I think he means is that what I would say feeling at home is, I'm gonna say it as if I'm gonna say something coherent. Hopefully, I do. What I would say feeling at home is feeling like the people that are there see me and they're happy to see me.
Yes,
that's one.
Yes,
they're happy to see me, and there's a natural warmth coming from the people.
Warmth and like just like a general sense of community inside the masjid.
Yeah.
I've walked into loads and I've never felt that before, apart from that man. So
I'm an anti person in it, so I probably don't radiate warmth in it. So I don't really look out for that in it. Like
neither do I. I don't either.
Yeah.
But I felt it, and it made me think about it because I don't look out for it either.
Yeah, I've not.
I don't look out for it. So it wasn't something that I was walking into masjid and being like, I'm never coming back here.
Give me a hug.
Yeah. So like it wasn't a big thing beforehand, but me walking into the masjid and feeling that kind of made me feel like I should feel like this anywhere I go. I shouldn't walk into another masjid and feel like I can't be a part of this community. I should feel, because that's what a masjid is meant to be. It's not meant to be a hub just for one type of person. It should be for the Muslims. So yeah, I guess it's just something I want to touch on. It was a very nice feeling, and it was something that spurred me on to say, I'm definitely going to come back to this masjid and pray here more, because I'd been to other masjids in the area beforehand. Like there's a masjid right around the corner from my house, but I went there once and I never went back.
Why?
I don't. This is the thing. I don't know. It wasn't. It wasn't.
I can. You know,
it wasn't like a conscious decision. Like I didn't say to myself, I'm never coming back to this masjid. But there was nothing. I would say there's nothing that brought me back to it. Whereas when I went to that masjid, I was like, I'm definitely coming back here. Like I want to come back here.
You know, the masajid that don't have a cultural that aren't aligned to any particular culture, I'll say a few. So the best one, far away one, Green Lane Masjid, Birmingham. That's far. Walking in there, love. But I don't believe that doesn't align itself with any particular. Plumstead Mosque or GICC, I think it's called, or whatever. There's people that are, big people in Man, for example, that go there, they're local. That one is not aligned. You might think it's like a Somali, West Africa. It's not. It's not aligned to anyone. Nothing but. I've only been there a couple times, but nothing but warmth when you go there. Brixton Masjid. That's kind of like a youth kind of very youth focused. So these are the ones that, because these are the ones that I'd say I definitely feel that. North Brixton Masjid as well, but I guess that, to be fair, that one's a Sierra Leone mosque, but because obviously I'm West African, I walk in there, it's just like uncles come and eat type of vibe. So they do exist. It's the ones that align themselves strictly with one type of culture, and people may even accuse. I was gonna say Nigerian mosque because obviously it's a man appreciation day. Might even say that they don't. Do you know what I mean? Might even say the same thing against like a Nigerian that's time. So, but I think that's what it often is. I think it often is aligned to a cultural type thing. Yeah.
I'd say the opposite though. I'd say culture is what would more likely make me feel at home.
Yeah, but if it's not your culture,
but if it's not your culture, then yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So is it? Yeah. So what you're saying really and truly is about culture. It sounds like that.
But he said Lusham's not aligned to a culture, particular culture.
They're not aligned to a culture.
No.
So I'm confused as to what it was then. What was it like that made you feel at home?
I don't know.
No, but that's what it's meant to be though.
Yeah,
I know, but that's not. I'm asking him to kind of explain it.
I felt a general warmth when I walked in. I felt like a sense
of the Black Panther.
Strength of the Black Panther.
I just, like I said, it's difficult to explain, but it's just. I just felt like a general sense of community. Like the people that were there, some people looked like me, some people, and like just felt like people were generally happy for me to be there, and just I walked in there and I felt like I belonged.
Yeah, some mosque, a new person walked in and they're like, oh, so how cool. Yeah. Some mosque, a new person walks in and is like,
what are you doing here?
You know, certain mosques here, whenever I go pray there, like if I've not been there before, they I don't know why they always seem. They just start lecturing me about sometimes basic stuff. I feel like that might be a bit of a microaggression, but that wouldn't deter me from going to that mosque.
And like I said, there's nothing about other mosques that deters me from going to them either. It's never been like a conscious thing for me. I don't go into mosque expecting to feel warm, and if I don't feel warm, I'm not coming back.
But that's why I was kind of trying to pinpoint what that feeling was, because I was trying to understand it, innit? I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe you need to feel it.
That's it.
Have you noticed it? Have you noticed this? Obviously, you're a bit more fresh to this
perspective. Yeah.
Make sure you can be.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think generally, because I've only gone to the mosque like opposite the Croydon hospital, and then also the mosque close to like Thornton Hughes Station as well.
Mention that one as well, ICT.
Yeah, no, they were super, because obviously that was the first time I stepped into a mosque, was the one opposite Croydon Hospital, and alhamdulillah, they were like super welcoming and super like, and obviously it was closed as well, it was COVID, so it was mainly just closed completely, but obviously the reception there, they were like welcoming 100%, and they're obviously like mostly Indian and Moroccan, so yeah, that's really the only time, I think that's what you mean basically.
Yeah,
I can relate to, obviously, and then others was just like, mashallah, I'm here to play.
And even to be fair, because I feel like one thing we do, I feel like so we have to be fair, because I feel like maybe we give Asians a hard time sometimes. I don't think we do, but I can imagine them feeling like we give them a hard time, because obviously they're the majority in London. For example, my man that came with us when you did your thing, what is he, Pakistani or Bengali or mad thing? Okay, so scrap that.
Racismo.
No way. Nah, he's not Moroccan. He's not Moroccan, fam.
So
might have to cut this out. No, I'm leaving this in. No, I'm sure he's like Pakistani. I feel like we had a conversation about. Anyway, let's say he's Pakistani. But anyway, that brother who may not be Pakistani is like literally like took man in almost like a son, like so like it's not a these people from this country do this. It's not that.
I don't think it's that either, because in these, where obviously Hackney's like Bethnal Green, Island, Whitechapel, etc., is large Asian community, so most of the mosques in my area are Asian mosques, and I never feel excluded. So I don't think that's what you're saying either, innit? I don't think it was
No.
I'm just more like, I'm actually just curious to know what that feeling was.
Yeah, so like I said, I've not walked into a mosque and felt excluded. I wouldn't say I felt excluded. I felt like I'm comfortable to come back here and
Yeah,
pray here.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. But that was just a different feeling.
Yeah.
That was just different. And walking in and feeling like instantly like it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling to explain, but yeah.
I hear you though.
Yeah, man. I feel like obviously we started.
Yeah.
We need to wrap. But Isa, Jesus, here for coming.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Don't be a stranger. We've been working for 49 episodes to get you on here. So finally, obviously, we negotiated terms. Obviously, we'll send this to your relevant PR team, and
Yeah.
we'll probably get about 20 minutes of content. Man.
Make sure we get some spin in that.
Yeah, man. Any last words?
Oh man, Jazakallah for having me. Obviously, I told you, man, I'll come eventually, innit?
Yeah.
When the time was right, innit? But alhamdulillah, thanks for having me. Obviously, you man are doing obviously you touched on this kind of like bridging kind of the gap between like the people that born into a Muslim family but might not have the knowledge, and obviously people that have the knowledge, you're trying to create that void. So I rate what you're doing, man, and I think I've spoken to you about it. Like this, I feel like this pod, whenever people kind of challenge you and say you should do this and do that, nah, man, don't listen to them, innit? Like stick to the voices that you might want to amplify, because they won't bring us on their platforms, innit? So don't feel like you need to put other people on this one, innit? But also another might be an obvious point, but there's actually a lot of diversity just amongst black men. Like there's so much diversity, fam. I feel like sometimes people always want what's obviously diverse. So like they always want someone like
They want
that.
a rainbow on the
Do
screen.
you get what I'm saying? Like, like they want the obvious examples. Oh, you come from a completely different world. But even amongst us, even if we're just gonna look at the different cultures and countries that man are from, so much.
Yeah,
And what
even some of the stuff you've spoken about today, stuff that people maybe never had before. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like there's so many voices in it, and I think having that platform there, especially as men as well, as black men, I feel like we're bullied into not speaking by our society, innit? Like everything's just thrown at our feet, like, oh yeah, black men did this, black men did that. So I feel like it's good that you man have this platform, focus on black Muslim men, where we're keeping it real, innit? So yeah, man, keep up, man, and
man.
keep doing the magic. Stop for a lot of this. Keep sharing power.
Yeah, man. Alright, cool.
Jazakallah khair for listening, people. Yeah, obviously quick socials. Jollof after Jummah on the YouTube and the Insta. I think when I checked today on YouTube, we're on 199 subscribers. So do that, make it 200. I don't know why.
210, man.
I don't know why. I even now being on YouTube, I don't know why people tell people to subscribe to their channel. Maybe they're trying to get to a goal where they can start earning, but I don't even know what that goal is. But whatever.
Do you know how?
It just makes it easier to
subscribe.
I want 1,000 for a reason, for a specific reason, because you can get that community thing. You can start getting polls, and I want that.
There you go. Then we want 1,000 subscribers.
So give me 1,000
by the end of next year, or Akbari, you turn it off.
We're off in it. We have to start doing that, threatening people. There have been no one judge unless. But on the level though, in all seriousness though, if you listen and you don't subscribe, I'm gonna come to us.
Yeah.
Mad.
With Dullah.
If he comes to your house, make sure you wave the bus driver down.
Yeah, wave the bus driver.
At least won't save you.
Alright, cool, man.
JJ_pod on Twitter. Yeah, sound like. Yeah, it's there. It's there. Sound like